Good morning, everybody. What's going on, cool cats and kittens? All right. You guys don't even know what Cool Cats and Kittens, where that even came from, do you? Tiger King. Watch it. It's the best documentary ever. Cool tunes off. Oh, Edge. That's interesting. Oh. Alrighty. Bum, 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 bum. All right, let's go. Why are you making that weird noise? Oh, I think it's good. All right, cool. Let's to it. I do want to check that. Give me 1 second. Yeah, we don't want to go past that. All right, cool. All right. I'm just looking at some stuff. All right, cool. Let's get to it. Morning. I am going to hold on. Let me put this banner out because I want to make sure I get this. All right, guys. All right, let me put this out there. I'm going to go live tonight at 4 o'clock. So just FYI, I think that the majority of money will be made this evening more than anything else. But you have 4 hyperscalers that are going to go live tonight, and earnings and everything. And then on top of that, I've got 4 conference calls. So there's no way that I can do all that and then make a video. So I'm just going to go live during it. And I put the little thing down here to tell people this. And then what I'll do, sorry, I hear the echo. Is I'll probably recap them after the conference calls. I will recap them on Saturday's video. So if you want to just go live when we're trading and everything, it'll be at like 4 o'clock tonight. And then we'll go from there. So just FYI. Let's get to some names and then we'll get to the indexes and I'll give you my opinion on how this is going to play out. CAR actually came in worse than expected, if you can believe that. Last time that this stock was here, we were at 118. I have no idea why it would even stay here and not go to 118. We're short. The majority of puts that I have are the 180s. And I don't know how the company doesn't do a secondary or anything. The put wall's 150. You would think it's going to bounce. I'm just going to tell you ahead of time. Also, I got to go at 9. There's just way too much going on. I have and I got a lot on here. So just FYI, let me just grab this and throw this up here and go to there. And so let me just go through this. So I want to go through that because I think that it's important. Like, I don't know how they don't do a secondary. They have to. And in regards to Hood, which you guys are going to ask about, so I'm going to cover some names and go from there. This was a dumpster fire. Absolute dumpster fire. It was a double miss. And I even think you could have rallied the troops around this, like the people that love this name. But let me make sure I got the right mic on. I do. Yep, we're cool. Good. I even think that you could have rallied like the longtime hoople heads that love the name. But I really think where you ran into an issue was the fact that they're just like, oh, we're not going to give guidance. Like that is literally the worst thing that you can say to an institution is that we're not going to give guidance. And as soon as people saw that, I shorted it because I'm like, how do you not give guidance? So it's down and I don't know where it winds up. The put wall for you guys that are playing it is 75. I was going to cover it if it didn't break there last night, but it broke late last night and I just stayed short. And I'll just show you this so you can see. And what we'll do is let's get rid of Prometheus. Let's just go here. Let's keep it real. And let's go to this. And, we might go back. I might start going old school. I like changing how I trade sometimes, keeping it fresh. Let's just go to candlesticks for a minute so you can see it. You have a level down here, and I think that you want to watch that, but you can see that 75, and like once you broke it, like that was it. You could see it fighting it, and then late last night, around 6, it just broke. So you have this level here, and that's your gap fill, and I think that actually looks really good on these charts, doesn't it? That's like so clean for you guys to see versus the others. So maybe I'll do that. And you have a gap right down here, and I think you're going to fill that gap. And I think you just did. And then the question becomes like, what do you do from there? If you can't hold that, you'll go to the low end of it, which would be 68, and you'd go to that open. I think I have a shot at it. I have to start watching off the open, what I'm going to do, because I have a tremendous amount on here, but that's really how I say it. So, and what else do I think's interesting? It was a disaster. It's actually pretty cool to look at. I kind of like this, not going to lie. I think it looks really easy for you guys to see this on charts in the morning. Super easy, right? All right, cool. If I need to switch to candles, I'll switch to candles. STX was in a monster quarter, and you've got upgrades out there as high as what? 1,000. You're going to have a lot of volatility in this off the open, like a lot. And I it is what it is, but it's going higher. It's just a function of time. I feel the same way about Western Digital. Like they're going higher, man. It's just a function of time. If you had to think about like, where could you get to here? Maybe, I don't know. It can always get worse, of course, but that's kind of where my head is, where I think you could get to the top of this, retest it. And I don't know who's going to not want to own that for earnings. Like, how do you not own Western Digital for earnings after STX? And then someone will say, it's not the same company. And I'm like, I know, but it kind of is. So I think that's really interesting. The other thing that I would tell you, like, if I just say this, because I'm trying to think of what's the most important thing, I think the thing you have to be most careful of is just semiconductors. I think there's standouts in semis, but when you have something like that, where you legit have an island gap reversal, you just want to be aware of it, because that's how tops are formed, right? So just FYI. If we go and take a look at, let's do the ES. Come on, little guy. And if we look at the ES and we go to a 4-hour, I think that this is the most troubling thing for me, is just watching how it's rolling over. It's not great. It doesn't have to get worse, but you need to be cognizant of that's out there. So yeah, it's definitely an issue. If you came to the low and said you have to get back and test that, which you've already kind of done, it puts you at 6,900. I'm not so sure you have to do that. I mean, candidly, the big test is going to be right here, and you've already tested that and then hit highs. So I don't really know that you're going to, break that area. That really seems to be an area of interest, and it seems to be an area that's been holding. So I'm not so sure that you're just going to, slice right through that, so to speak. And that's really how how I'm viewing that area. If I go and take a look at this on a 5, you can already see this. Well, Brown Foreman's going to be interesting. I want to see that. But if I go and take a look at this here, and let's get rid of this for a minute and then just take a look at what's been going on. Those highs, Larry, I am in no mood. So it's super clean, right? You rallied back up to this peak where you've rejection, flips, and then that area. So this clearly is an area that you'd want to mark off and pay attention to. And then, of course, you'd want to just mark off, those lows and see if you're going to break there. So you're kind of wedged in here with, what kind of range? 50 basis points. You have the Fed today. So the question becomes, what does the Fed do? Do they do anything? And then what we'll do is just pop the candles in so that you guys can see it with candles. Yay. What does the Fed do? Does it matter? Does it not matter? There's your peak right from there. So, and you've been holding that. I mean, it depends on how nasty he gets today. And he might get nasty. So, I don't really put it past him. They went after this guy like really, really hard, and I'd watch that, because I think they really went after him. And I think they went after him obviously they went after him like really hard. So, we want to watch that and then kind of figure it out and which way to go, with it. But they're not going to raise rates. They're not going to cut rates. They're not going to do anything with rates. And there's no put wall, or there's no put wall. There's no dot plot. There's none of that. So we don't really have to worry about that as well. But if we take a look at that, I mean, you can see that you've already hit that level, rejected. Now you're making lower highs. The function is, do you make lower lows? And then what we'd want to do is just mark that peak and drop it like it's hot there, and see that you're already fighting that area and that peak, which means that people that bought, right, and are able to get out are getting out of that area. And I think that's important. But if I'm him, he's got to be, I think he's going to be a little annoyed, candidly. I think he is, but what do I know? There I go again, thinking. And this is the time where he can actually say something. And I think he may actually say something about it. So we'll see what happens. So I don't know, man. I had on a swivel today, but some of these earnings were just absolutely insanely good. And I think that's really what you're seeing here. And I think that's exactly what you're going to continue to see with some of these companies. But, you're going into, and we should just go through this. And again, I have to go at 9. But make sure you subscribe to the channel because that's how that link's going out. I think you have to realize that you have like Microsoft tonight, and that's going to be wild because they're going to get so many questions. You're going to have the initial move and that conference call, which I probably won't be live for, but that conference call is going to be freaking wild. And they're going to get a lot of questions about OpenAI. What are you doing? And you can see the algorithm telling you where the high frequency traders are and where the institutions are. So you'd probably want to make sure that you have those areas marked off before tonight. And then I'm going to just do all 4 of them so you can get a sense of it. If you look at Meta and we take a look at how that's setting up here, it's very similar to me, on how to view Meta. But I think there's more uncertainty around Meta. Like, you just don't know what he's going to do. You just don't know. Like, they're laying people off, and at the same time that he could increase CapEx again and then just lay more people off. So it does seem like that's kind of the proverbial game plan here. And, maybe that's the thing, maybe that's where he's going with it. I don't know, but that's how I see the big levels here on these names. You're so far away from like call walls and things like that I don't even think it makes, sense to go through or reasons to take a look at them. Like I truly don't even think it makes sense to play with them. I think it's going to be that, that pretty much that insane. So then the next question becomes, what happens with Amazon? And this is so interesting because I think Amazon, they can actually re-rate tonight. And if I had to say like, hey, which one could, which one, in my opinion, has the most, interesting upside? I think it depends on what they say about this semiconductor business and where they go with it. But if you look at the levels, like the first levels, it's pretty obvious where they are. Like, I don't think that's really anything to pay attention to. So like, and then Google, for me, I think they might come up with something new. They always come up with something. And that 350 level is just a mofo, and they've really been struggling with it. So we'll just take a look at it here. We can look at it on the hourly and then kind of play with this. So there's your level. Man, oh man, you never even, it's just been straight shot, hasn't it? So I can't imagine that they're going to do something that's going to get you to here. But if they did, I'd probably be all over that if they did, but I don't think that's going to happen. All right, cool. So then next, let's take a look at some stuff. I don't know if we'll say that or not. There's a chance. He could get angry. He could get like super angry. What's up, JL? I think that BE was fantastic. Like, I mean, they raised everything. They raised their guidance. It was like an insane quarter. I mean, they said they were going to do it here, and then they even beat that. So it was just an insane quarter. It's just, for me, it's a very hard name to kind of get in and stay in. just because of the way it moves. Like you just get these crazy movements in it that it makes it very difficult to just stay with. So I tend to either trade this one or avoid it. There was much easier days, obviously, a year ago to try to stay in this thing. And now it's really very difficult, in my opinion, to try to get in there and stay in there. I mean, people could say, well, you could have just bought it and just held it right from that low. But I don't know who's going for 11% rides. Like it's like eating a chiclet. You know, that's not me at all. So, just have options that are going to expire. Which options? Oh, yeah, good. Yep, good. All right. So I do think that there is a sense of that where, yeah, people are going to want to be in that. I don't know, man. This is going to be pretty wild. This one's always pretty wild. You know, you might want to see if it can build a base and then kind of go from there. A lot of those names are going to be pretty wild today, in my opinion. Huge rallies, huge sell-offs, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's what you're going to be dealing with today. And then you're going to have to kind of figure out how you're going to navigate it more than anything else. But can it be like GEV? I mean, I kind of think it is, right? Like, you know, GEV just keeps ripping. But the problem is, like with GEV, is you need to just kind of buy it and forget you're in it. You know, the way to kind of buy GEV is this: like you wait for everyone gets all giddy, and then it kind of pulls down, and maybe you can buy it here and then use that as the stop. The problem with names like this, to me, is that it's nothing for it to drop 100, you know, $200 and everything's fine. And I don't know that that's the name I want to go for a 20% ride in. So I think there's other names out there that make way more sense to me, that are way cheaper, that people are still waiting for those names to blow up and can't believe where they're going. The storage names to me are just like, they make so much sense here, the way that these guys are raising numbers. I don't think people truly get that. I still think people are way off on those. Good morning from New York. So, yeah, I think the problem that you're going to run into at Boeing is that all these flights are being delayed and canceled. So people are going to start looking at this and going, do I really need this plane for the next year? Do I really want to spend on another plane right now? I don't really have an answer to that. I mean, if you come and take a look at the earnings, and I don't know that you're going to get cancellations, but as long as you're above that 220 level, I think you're groovy. If we go and take a look at, let's go take a look at the call wall and the put wall, and then go and figure it out from there. So yeah, I mean, I don't think you're in any danger at all, one way or another there, to be candid. I don't really think there's a whole hell of a lot to do there. You know, I don't really see it that way. So that's kind of where my head is. And I just don't think that there's a lot going on there. You know, I maybe if you see some movement in the dollar, you know, maybe, but the way he's talking about oil right now is, oh, we'll just sit there. He was given two options, apparently. The two options were, number one, we're going to start bombing again, right? And then number two was would just withdraw, and then the strait will open up again. And I actually think he's saying he's doing C, which is we're just going to leave the strait. We're just going to stay there. Okay. And then within 2 weeks, Iran has no place to put their oil. And so they're going to have to turn off the oil. And then you go, okay. And then like you think about that and go, all right, well, what does that mean? Well, then they have problems with money and everything else. Well, what if they just keep storing the oil and they just stop? I don't know. I don't know enough about the country, you know, candidly, but it's a bold strategy, Cotton. So, you know, we're going to have to see how it plays out. And I think that it plays into, I think it plays into the airlines a lot. And I actually feel like, I'm tying it into Boeing, but it's like when you see, oh, bookings is down. Well, duh, they're canceling flights, and like Expedia, like all of a sudden this was like rocket science that this was going to happen. So I don't know. I said that about jets a while ago as a short. It just it doesn't make any sense to me, like what these airlines are going to do. And now they're looking for another bailout, right? So I need a job like that. So I don't know, man. I don't know it's going to go anywhere. Yeah, there's a lot going on here. A lot, dude. So I think people have to understand that today. Like there is a lot going on, and then you're going to have Itchy, and I think Itchy could be pretty wild today, to say the least. So, that's kind of where my head goes with it anyway. But we'll have to see, really what he does and pardon me, and how he plays that. So, and I don't really have an answer to that. Like I don't have a freaking clue what he's going to do. I truly don't. I'm just looking at some things. Good morning from the Netherlands. Good morning from Miami. I think Oracle was fascinating yesterday because Oracle should really have broken down. And if you were going to break down and you're not, so like what you're really doing is just backfilling. And I have a friend that owns a bunch of the bonds, and I'm like, man, the CFO of one of the companies is coming out and saying we might not be able to pay you. So I own this long term, and not like really long term, and I'm like, man, I'm going to get smoked. I can't believe it held the open. So as long as you're holding 160, and really as long as you're holding the 55, like it's actually up, backfilled. So if we just look at this differently, and I like this one, so we're going to spend time on it because it's all about me. But if I took this one and cleaned all this off, right? And where is it? So what we're going to do is take that low and take that high. And I just drop it here like it's hot. Like, isn't that crazy? You came down 50% of that range and you stop dead. But wait, there's more. And then you start going through this, and we don't need this one, but we'll drop it there like it's hot. And then you look at like the range, you got right to that 61.8%. And you stop. So I think this is a really interesting area. I think as long as you're not closing under that 62.42, you're groovy. And I really think that that's very, very important. I do. I think that's super important to note. And yeah, it's much cleaner, I think, when I just go old school. I used to have a client years ago, and he would literally by hand do the X's and the O's. The guy killed it. Absolutely killed it. NXPI was a monster quarter. Absolute monster. I think we covered it. Just absolute monster. And no one expected it. And it wasn't even close. Like it wasn't even, ON moves on that too, right? You guys know that, right? So like it literally wasn't even close. So absolutely slaughtered it. I don't know, man. I can't believe he's just going to say, oh, we're just going to leave the boats there. I really feel like he's going to come out and do something else today, because he's going to want to steal like Jerome's thunder, right? Because they're paying attention to Jerome. The good news is he's going to be on everybody's passport, so we're going to have that going for us, which is nice. All right, cool. I thought Big T had an ego. Okay, back to it. But give me 1 second here, guys. I just got to see one thing. Come on down. And I think they're going to smoke that hood. You know, the thing with SFM, honestly, no. And here's why. See how it broke right near, and it broke the 55. I don't own stocks that break their 55-day moving average if they're trades like that. Hello from Thailand. People love Thailand. Yeah, that's got a lot of problems. I just think the way that I went about it might be wrong. I really am digging the open, high, low, close bars. I don't know how you guys feel about them, but they're super clean to see on the chart. I really like the trade. I really like the short idea, but I think that I think the options. I think everybody knows that it's in trouble. So I think that what you're running into is it's making it harder to be short. All right, it's 9 o'clock. Let me go through this. CRM, not touching. he pretty much did. Like I was like, wow, this is super, super aggressive. Like, what are you doing? Yeah, I mean, that's really kind of how I felt about it. Like, man, this guy's like being super aggressive. So I don't know, man. And not really giving a reason as to why. Like, I don't know. So I'd be careful of anything that's below the 55-day there. But Bloom looks great. Yeah, this SIMO, I see a lot of you guys talking about this name. I'd have to do more work on it, candidly. I don't know anything about it. I don't know anything about, what's going on here with this. Nothing. So I'm really the wrong person to ask. I obviously see what happened with earnings. I obviously see that it crushed earnings. There's not really much more for me to say about it. I don't know the name. These more mid-cap names like this, they tend to fade more than anything. And I think that that's really an issue. And, I'll watch it today, but it's not something that's like on my radar. I'm not ignoring it. I don't know why he's so angry. Catherine's so angry this morning. I'm not ignoring it. I do think it's an issue. I do. I think it's a real issue. I just really think there's a major taco coming. I'm going to leave my ships there forever. And that's not a political statement. So everybody calm down. But that's what we're doing. We're going to leave the ships there. Okay. So at some point, they're going to realize that. So it's not really the strategy. Like if he's telling you what the strategy is, that's not the strategy. He's going to come out with some kind of victory lap. So, but you have a lot going on today with the Fed too. So that won't work though. Going through the Caspian Sea won't work. Yeah, it's not going to work though. They can't get enough through it. That's the biggest problem with it. So they can do that all they want, but it's not going to work. It also shows weakness. I don't know anything about that company. Good morning from West Virginia. Good morning from Miami. West Virginia is beautiful. I wouldn't go near SMCI because I don't know what's going to happen next. The NBIS is super interesting to me, but I think you're early. When trades do this, like you stopped right at that 22, I use the 22. You should use what you're comfortable with. You just kind of want to see it hold for like a day. Do you know what I mean? Like this is where people run into problems because they're like, oh, I got to get in now. Like, do you? Or can you like kind of chill out a little bit? Maybe you could chill out a little bit. Like, do you really need to get in like right now? Like, or can you just like chill out? So you could probably chill out a little bit, right? So this is where people run into problems because like, oh, I got to get in today. It's there. If it holds, cool. If it doesn't, cool. You want to go swing this thing going into 4 hyperscalers coming out tonight? Like, good luck, man. Like, You have no idea what's going to happen tonight. We're all going to like pretend that we do, but we don't have a freaking clue what's really going to happen. So let's keep that, let's keep it in mind. And I think that's super important to get. Like, I don't have a clue what happens tonight. I think I have an understanding. I think I have an idea of it. But, did you guys know that Hood was going to pause guidance? Thank you. I got to go. But let's just see what happens. We're from Toronto. Toronto's beautiful. I'm angry. So angry. So angry. Why doesn't he talk about oil? Boomer never talks about oil. All right. Make good choices. See you guys at 4.